And Rish, ongoing worries of a high inflation and slowing growth have been weighing on investor sentiment in India. Our next guest sees opportunities in sectors that are linked to domestic consumption. Joining us is Nalin Moniz, Edelweiss AMC CIO for alternative equity. First up, Nalin, what is alternative equity?
So alternative equities is basically anything that doesn't include the traditional ETFs, index funds, and diversified long-only funds. It encompasses the range of absolute return strategies like long-short equities. It encompasses private equity, as well as focused investing in undiscovered mid and small cap companies.
You talked about seeking opportunities linked to consumption. What exactly are they?
So consumption is a multi-decade trend in India, and it encompasses everything from consumer staples to consumer discretionary, healthcare, retail financial services, and basically any industry that serves the growing and burgeoning Indian middle-class population. And this, in our view, is one of the biggest multi-year trends for any investor to take advantage of.
Nalin, okay, if we're talking the alternative space, we're just talking about consumption. That is probably a big one, a big part of it. But Nalin, tell me, how much liquidity is there amongst these stocks?
So the Indian market is fairly liquid. We have about 200 to 250 companies that trade at least $1 million of ADV per day and have at least about $2 billion of market cap. So this is a market that's fairly deep for an investor to take advantage of. And we see very strong long-term appetite from both foreign institutional investors as well as domestic institutions in the form of mutual funds and insurance companies.
So give us a sense of some names here, if you don't mind, if you can anyway. And tell us how they compare with the traditional equities that are in that particular space, as it were, and why do you think they're going to do so well compared to others?
Right. So one of the key trends that we're seeing in the short term, Rashad, is that inflation in India is peaking out. CPI inflation is down from 7.8 to 7.05. The government has been fairly vigorous in terms of employing both monetary and fiscal steps to curb inflation, whether it is a 90 basis point hike in repo rates over the last 2 months, whether it is the imposition of an export duty on domestic steel, as well as cutting excise duties on energy prices at the pump. So with inflation cooling off, we are seeing that Indian households have a lot more money to spend, and a lot of that spending is being directed towards more discretionary categories that such as fashion, travel and tourism, entertainment, and the like.
The thing is, Nalin, inflation is expected to remain elevated. It may be easing somewhat, but it remains at high levels. Surely that will eventually impact growth and eventually impact consumption.
Right. So, Haslinda, you're right in the sense that the Reserve Bank of India, in our view, still has about 100 to 125 basis points of hike to do over the next year in order to get to a more neutral stand on monetary policy. But that being said, a lot of discretionary categories in India are very, very highly underpenetrated. India is today perhaps where China was 15 years ago in terms of its evolution and consumption. So even though there are some short-term blips in terms of inflation, people's propensity to spend and their desire to upgrade their lifestyles is undiminished in our view.
What type of returns are you expecting? That's key here.
Right. So valuations are starting to look very attractive at this point in time. To give you a sense, for a basket of high quality companies, valuations on a forward basis are about 10 to 15% below their 10-year long-term average. So over the next year to 2 years, you could not only see an earnings growth of 12 to 15% in nominal terms, but also a valuation re-rating of another 10 to 15% over and above that. Put together, this makes for a very healthy proposition for any investor who is investing in Indian equities today.
All right, Nalin Moniz, Edelweiss AMC CIO for alternative equity. Let's do a check on the Indian market. Been trading for about 3 minutes and